Alright, students, welcome to Friday. We're going to be doing A-6. So if you haven't taken out your notes yet, pause your video, take out your notes. Alright, we're going to do A-6, variables on both sides. Again, some of you may remember this from previous years. And we're just going to go right into it. We just have two examples today. Okay, so our first example, we have negative 19 plus 4x equals 8x plus 5. Okay, so our big difference here is when we look at those x's, you see we have x's on both sides. I'm going to use yellow to do that. If you want to use a highlighter, you can. Highlighter just doesn't show up on my camera. So you can use a highlighter. Highlight, we have a 4x, and we have that 8x. Or you can use a colored pencil, you could underline or box. Okay, our goal there is that we have x's on two different sides. When we get to the answer of an equation, when we solve, we want an x equals or something equals x. So our goal is to get x together on the same side. So I'm going to draw that line down the equal sign. So right now they're like in two different rooms, they're separate. So to get them on the same side, we have to undo one and move it to the other side. So I'm going to get x equals at my end here. So I'm going to move this 8x over to this side. So to get rid of this positive 8x, I have to think what's opposite of my positive, what's opposite of adding 8x, and that would be a minus 8x. But again, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So I'm going to do minus 8x on the other side. Okay. So that negative 19 is still here. Now when I do 4 minus 8, that's like 8 minus 4 is 4, but I have more negatives. So I'll go negative 4x equals. Now if I have 8 x's and I take 8 x's away, we're going to be left with no x's. So I'm really just left with 5. Ignore that background noise there, sorry. Okay, so now if I look, I have just this negative 4x by itself. There's only one. This is our nice cozy two-step equation. Remember, that's our goal, is to get to that two-step. And I have x just on one side. So now to get x by itself, I have that negative 4 with the x. Those guys are besties. We keep them together as much as we can. We're going to undo this negative 19. Right? And it's adding a negative. So remember to think of how to undo adding a negative. We're going to add a positive because we're trying to get to 0. Okay, we do it on one side, do it on the other. Negative 19 and a positive 19 makes 0, so I'm left with this negative 4x equals 5 plus 19. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, and our goal is to get x all by itself, so with that x, I see that negative 4. Remember that when they're touching, that means multiply. So again, if you sneak that little multiply sign in there, you can. So to undo multiply, we divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. And we get x equals negative 6. Now, for a check on this one, a check looks a little different because we have two different sides. It's not just plug it in and see what the answer is. So what's going to happen, again, is I have negative 19 plus 4x. So I'm going to say plus 4, and then remember x is negative 6. On Desmos here, I'm going to hit this enter, which is usually blue, but since I have it on reverse, it's yellow. So enter. And then I'm going to plug it into the other side. 8x, sorry, my screen is really dirty. 8 times, my x is negative 6. Oops. Plus 5. And we're saying that these are equal. They're the same. So when we get our answer, we should have the same answer. And we do. So that means we did it right. Okay, so just as a review here, first thing that we did was we move the variables to the same side. If you want to write this down. If you knew how to do this problem already, you don't need to write this part. Move variables to the same side. And here when we did that, we made sure that was with the x's. So that's when we combine like terms. Okay, and then the rest of it from there to the end, we just solve, just like how we normally do. Alright, now what's kind of nice about these equations is you can put the x on either side. So if you worked on this ahead and you got rid of that 4x and you did minus 4x, we should still get the same answer no matter what. Okay, so it's our choice if we wanted to say x equals, or we could have an x something equals x. Okay, last problem here, number 2. Just 2 examples today. This one's going to be a little bit longer though. By a little bit, I mean kind of a lot longer, I guess. So we have 51 minus 3w equals negative 5 times the quantity of, so remember quantity of tells us a separate amount, use parentheses for separate, 3 plus 2w and then minus 15w. Holy moly. So take a second to take a look at that. We've got kind of a lot going on there. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my variables. So I'm going to use my yellow colored pencil if you want to use a highlighter. We have this minus 3w. You could circle it or underline it if you don't want to use colors. We have this 2w, and we have this minus 15w. Okay, if I draw that line down that equal sign, I can see that those w's are separated. Okay, so on this side I have 2w's, so I want to combine those. I want to put those together, but when I can't put those together because we have these parentheses stopping us, saying that these have to go together. So to undo those parentheses, we're going to take that negative 5 from the outside, and we're going to distribute. Pew! Pew! Okay. Remember, it's always okay to use your calculator, so if you need to take that out to tell us what we're doing here, I'm going to skip the step where we say what we're multiplying. I'm going to do it just for my calculator. Negative 5 times 3, negative 15, plus negative 5 times 2 is negative 10, but this one had a w, so when I get that answer, I want to make sure I have negative 10w. Now that undoes the parentheses. I don't need to write those anymore. but I still have this minus 15w. So I want to put those together because those are like terms. So it's negative, almost dropped my pencil there. Here we have this negative 15 plus, and then I have negative 10w minus 15w. Okay, so if I start with negative 10, and remember minus 15 means like I'm going to go backwards 15 more. I'm going more negative. So we end up at negative 25. And then w. Alright, so now as I look at this, I can't combine those. Those are not like terms. This is a constant. This is a variable with a coefficient. So I'm going to rewrite this equation out, equals, and then drop this down. So 51 minus 3w. Now it looks a little bit more like that top equation where we just have variables on both sides. We have two terms, okay? Kind of 2 is the main goal here when we do equations, to get two terms and two terms, make it easy on ourselves. Okay, now we could get it so that this w goes on this side and I get a w equals, or we can move this 3w to the other side. Let's move this one over to this side today. So to undo a minus 3w, we're going to add 3w. And if we do it to one side, we do it to the other side. Now when I put this on the other side, I want to think about where will I put that 3w. Should it go underneath that negative 15 or underneath that negative 25w? And because they're both w's, I want to put it with that like term underneath that negative 25, so plus 3. Okay, so 3w and 3w, those are gone. I'm left with this 51 equals, we bring down that negative 15 plus, now when we have a negative and a positive, I'm seeing some people still struggle with this a little bit. So remember, it's okay to use a calculator, but our idea is if I have 25 negatives and I want to go positive 3, I need to go towards 0, so I'm going to take away negatives because I'm going towards the positive. So plus 3, it's like we subtract. 25 minus 3, 22. And then do I have more positives or more negatives? We have more negatives. So negative 22 w. Okay, so now as we look, we have just one spot where we have a w. We only have two terms over here. It's that nice, cozy two-step equation. We should feel really nice about this part. Hopefully is the goal. So now to get rid of a negative 15, negative 22 is the best friend of the w. That's that coefficient. Co means together, and they're working together. So we're going to keep them working a little bit longer. We're going to undo that negative 15. So to undo a negative, we're going to add. Do it to one side. Do it to the other side. Okay. Oops. 51 plus 15, we get 66. Negative 15 and 15, that makes 0, so I'm left with just negative 22w. When they're touching, that means that we're multiplying. So to undo multiply, we divide. And you can either use that fraction line like we did last time, or you can use this division symbol. Either way is fine. Eventually, we're always going to use that fraction symbol. You're actually going to find out during A7 why in our next lesson. How exciting. Okay, so 66 divided by negative 22, and we get negative 3. Alright, stick around, we still got to do a check just to show that what we did that all for. So that was a lot of work. If at the end you're like, cool, what did I do? Well, let's see what you did. What we did was we took this negative 3w, and I take that negative 3 and I put it back into those original equations. These two sides should be the same. Okay? So I'm going to put that in here, 51 minus 3, and then in parentheses, negative 3 times negative 3. I'm not going to show you the answer yet. We're going to leave it as a surprise. How exciting. Build up that suspense. Negative 5 times, then it says parentheses, 3 plus, and then it says 2w. So 2w, 2 times our w. We said our w is negative 3. This is so long, my calculator's not even going to show all it all. Okay, minus 15 times our w, negative 3. Yeah, my calculator stopped showing after I typed in it. But in the end, we said that they have to be equal, they have to be the same. And look, they're both equal 60. Amazing! Alright, I'm going to explain the homework. So, take out you already have your Schoology out because you're watching this video. Good job. Alright, I'm going to show you how to do the homework.